Hi, greetings and welcome. Clive Branson here. This is something that I thought I'd try. This is an experimental now. I'm going to go over the last match with you and obviously discuss, if you like, what I'm doing, because most of the time when I'm fishing, I'm doing things that that I know what I'm doing, but of course the viewer's not quite sure. So anyway, what I'd like to do is go through the stages, just the fishing. It's probably just going to be a short video, and I'll try and explain a little bit what I'm doing, and hopefully it'll give you a bit of insight and help you maybe in your own fishing in the future. Okay, no further ado. We're going to start at the beginning, and what I'm basically doing is bait dropping in some chop worm, castor, and a pinch of red maggots. And then what I'll do, I start off then, I've got two flat floats. I've got a Crusoe, which is a sort of a heavier flat float, which basically can hold still. Then I've got a Sensus round flat float that I'm using to sort of inch my way through the swim. Okay, so no further ado, I'll explain now as we go along. Okay, so here what I'm basically doing is taking a pinch of maggots, pinch of castors, and worm, and I place them into the bait box, and well, sort of cutting them up, roughly chopped, not too finely chopped, because I like to put large particles of the worm into the swim, because that's an attractor on its own. If you chop it up too finely, I know that's a theory a lot of people use. They'll chop it up fine just to get the sense of the smell in the water. But I like to do the both. I like to have the visual attraction as well as the smell of the amino acids from the worms. So what I'm doing now, just going to ship out. Now here's a little tip. Because we're going to ship out, what you've got to do is drop the bait dropper sort of in close, and with one movement you shift out the bait dropper, because if you've got to keep a tight line on it, because if you don't, it'll open up and you lose your feed. So you've got to keep a tight line on it as you ship out. So I've just basically pinned the worm to the bottom of a particular spot where I want to fish. Okay. Okay, now I'm doing it again now. Yep. Now I've done it in a quick motion then. So basically, drop the feeder or the bait dropper on my feet, kept a tight line on it, and shipped it out. Okay. Once releasing the bait dropper, I quickly put it up out of the swim, cast it upstream, and bring it in, as you can see, empty. Okay, now I'm starting on the Sensus float, which is basically a round float that I'll sort of inch it down the swim, slowing it up, of course, at probably about a quarter pace than the flow. The reason I start on that is obviously the particles of bait are all flowing everywhere on the bottom, and any fish around will probably attack the bait, probably take the bait as it's moving, rather than pinning it down on the bottom at this early stage. So I've got this is a 4-gram Sensus flat float. I've got an Olivet about 18 inches from the hook, and I've got 2 number B droppers. Now, as I'm shifting out, a small fish had taken me. It was a small little chublet, I think. So that's something I want to try and avoid. I'm starting off with just 2 red maggots. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I should go on the worm straight away, not to get pestered by small fish. So what I'm doing now is put a small worm on, head of a worm, basically cut it in half, hook it through the head, and then put a red maggot on it as well. So you got like a bit of a combination. Okay, so I'm shifting on. I'm using 11 meters there at the moment. I'm trying to get over that initial slack water into the flow, and I'm pinpointing the bait right over the bait dropper now at the area where I assume that all the bait's gone in. Now at this stage I'm going to take it steady. I'm not going to go mad with it because I'm not competing with anyone. There's nobody around me. I've got a lot of room. Yeah, so basically I'm just running it down, as I say, quarter pace. Now the secret is that, what's going to happen is that because it's slightly overshotted, you keep a tight line to the flat float, and if at any time the float goes under, you simply have a little strike, because sometimes you have a fish on it, other times you don't. So you basically work in the float all the time through the swim. Okay, so as you can see, I'm basically striking every time it's sort of going under, and then I'm releasing it, so the float's going back into the same area. Problem now is a bit of rain. I'm a little bit concerned that if it rains too much, the camera will get wet. So anyway, so I'm carrying on now. It's gone under. I've hooked the fish. Seems like a small fish, perch, which I assume. So I'm bringing it up out of the swim, above the area. So I'm bringing it out of the shoal, should there be a shoal there. Unshipping, of course. And then just ascertaining the size of the fish, really, if whether I need to net it. But this one's about 4 ounces, so I can swing it. There we are. Nice little perch to begin with. Okay, now perch have got a habit of taking the bait right down because they've got no teeth. They just swallow the bait whole, and this is where you've got to have a disgorger with you. 2 types of disgorger. One is a conventional disgorger, which you can unhook the fish if it's in the mouth at all, but if it's swallowed it down the throat, you need what we call a slammer, which is a different type of disgorger. It's almost like a knit needle with a circle on the end, and then that threads down the line into the shank of the hook, and you simply disgorge it. It's quite simple. So that is recommended at all times, you know, and that you can use the slammers on eels and bream, the same. You know, you can retrieve your hook. There you are. So that's what I've done there. So I'm going to shift. I'm going to go back out now. As I say, I just got a little tangle on the top there a moment. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try this for 1 or 2 casts, and then I'm going to put a Caruso float, which is another type of flat float, which basically you hold still. Because it's shaped with a shoulder on it, it's like a rudder, and that'll hold it dead still in the water, which is what you want. It's almost like float ledgering in a sense. So anyway, but I'm carrying on with this at the moment. Okay, shipping out 11 meters, laying the float down, holding it over the baited area, and then just inching it through, if you can see that. Oh, again, it's gone under. So you strike at almost everything, you know. When you use this type of float, obviously it's going to go under a lot more than a Crusoe float. But again, years ago, before flat floats, we used to use oval floats, like a pear shape, reverse pear shape, so the shoulder would hold against the flow. But of course, with the invention of flat floats, then it makes the job much more easier, and also easier to see the bites, easier to hold back as well. Okay, so I'm just going to give this another chuck or two. Now by this time my idea is that the bait I've introduced has probably gone out of the swim. Some of it's going to still linger on the bottom, I think. And what you've got to bear in mind, the surface of the water is always faster than underneath. So although we think it's quite flowing quite strongly, underneath it's obviously a lot slower. Yeah, so okay. So it's slowing up a bit there now, so I think it's about time I change to the Crusoe float. Yeah, just having just another sort of quick rundown, just a couple of more times. Holding it, trying to hold it back, trying to slow it down. The wind's picking up a bit. This is a spare pole I'm using. It's an old lithium pole, damn lithium. All right, I've got another fish on. Bring him up out of the swim. Yeah, another small perch. Obviously, smaller perch are a bit more active than the larger perch. The larger fish are going to take it, they'll probably want a slowed down, if not still bait, where the smaller perch would tend to chase anything in the water. So once I've had these out of the way, I'm now changing to the Crusoe float, which is the flat float, which with the shoulder, as I mentioned, and with this float, I can basically hold still. Before I do that, I'm going to put another bait dropper in. That's what I would normally do. Yeah. So I'm just filling up the bait dropper again, picking out the bits of worm, casters, pinch of red maggots. Dropped it into the water close in, kept a tight line on it, ship it out, and then over the same area again, so I'm concentrated in one spot. So lifting up out of the water, and I just steadily lower it into the water. At the same time, you can also, you like plumbing the depth as well, so you know how far over depth you are. Okay, so that's done. The wind's picking up a bit. So what I'm doing now, I'm baiting up with a chopped worm, red maggot, tip it off so the worm don't slide off the hook. I'm using a size 14, so I just flick it out in front of me, keeping a tight line, because if you just drop it out, you'll tangle, so you got to try and keep it laid out. Always keep your float and your rig laid out. So I'm just dropping that into the water now. All right, now this presentation is completely different, because this will actually hold the float against the flow. So I'm holding it very, very steady now. almost, as you say, it's almost like float lettering. Yeah. Straight in to a nice fish. Shipping back slowly. Gauging by the length of elastic coming out, this is a good pound fish, I would say. It's a bit awkward shipping back because of the vegetation, but managed to do it. All right, looking at, just getting the landing net ready now. And see the perch under the water, so I'm basically waiting for it to tire. Get the landing net in, ready. Yeah, got him in nicely. Yeah. I would say good 12 ounces, maybe a pound. Again, it swallowed the bait because they got no teeth as such. And as I said, perch tend to just suck it in. During my years of keeping fish in the fish tanks, when I used to study them, I noticed the swallow of a perch is quite ferocious. It can actually suck worm in, I'm just showing you, it can suck worm in a good 12 inches away, almost. So that's the reason they suck it in and it goes straight down their gullet. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to slightly go a little bit deeper because I want to lay on, really hard if I can. So just some minor adjustments. Again, I'm going to tip it off with a worm and a maggot. You just find one of the chop worms, put in a maggot on. Don't know if you can see that current, but the current's quite turbulent there. Again, I'm out 11 meters, laying the float out. In straight away, look. So, because this tends to be a bit bigger, I can't bring it up out of the swim, out of the shoal, so I'm bringing it very, very slowly up, and then let the elastic do the work. So say that I'm shipping now. The float ready. Yeah, another one in the net. Not quite as big as the first one, but I would say a good half a pounder. Okay, baiting up again now. This time I'm using an alternate between tail and head of the worm, chopped in half so the juices come out of it, of course, and it's wriggling like mad. tipped off with the red maggot. Okay, so I'm just laying the float out into the baited area. Holding back. You see that? I say it went under, so a gentle lift up, strike, in case there's a fish. Otherwise it's just holding bottom. As I say, slightly overshot it. And again. Just bring them out of the shoal again. Again, it's nice fish. Taking my time, let the elastic do the work. Okay. Right, I'm trying to make a dive now for the bushes. So I'm just put a bit of pressure on it. I got him. Yeah. Actually, it's smaller than I thought. I thought it was a bit bigger than that, but surprising the perch, when they get a head of steam and they run with the help of their dorsal fin, it makes the fish look a lot bigger than they generally are. So, but you never know. Okay, well, at this stage, it's probably about half hour into the match. The rain is starting to come down a little bit, and they did forecast showers on and off throughout the day. And the river was supposed to come up, but you know, during the match I didn't really notice it come up at all. So anyway, so I'm holding this Caruso float quite still in the water. And of course I'm looking for the bigger fish now. By laying it on and holding it still. Of course I'm still striking at anything that moves. You know, sometimes the current itself will pull the float under. So as we go now, so I may have had a nibble. You know, sometimes you'll get a nibble, and you know, the maggot or the worm will be sort of chomped away. So just changing the worm again. So I'm using quite big dendrobenuses and snapping them in half, using, as I say, either the head or the tail. Red maggot. Now, casters go well when you're fishing with perch for some reason. Sometimes you will catch on casters, but casters do tend to hold the perch in the swim longer. So I'm just putting another bait dropper in. You know, I haven't put a lot in, if you've noticed. As I say, I'm not competing with anyone, so it's just a matter of just keeping the fish interested without filling them up. You know, just testing the depth as well. As I lift it out, I'll swing the bait drop upstream, you know, not to create a disturbance in the swim itself. Now, knowing that you've now got a little pot of cutworm maggot and castor on the bottom. If there's any fish around, they should come to that. Obviously, with a bigger piece of worm on and a maggot, slightly larger than the offering, yeah, I think that's right. I actually decided to put 2 droppers in this time. Yeah, so yeah, just in the same spot. Yeah, you lift the bait dropper up, and you can see if it's emptied, which it has. So now bring it in, and we'll now put the worm on. Actually, I've decided I'm going to turn the camera off because it's just getting a bit too wet at the moment. I will be back. Okay, the rain has eased off, so now I'm attempting to go back fishing again. I put a little rain top on. Obviously, at the same time, I'm giving the swim a little bit of a rest by, leaving it stop fishing for a little bit. Sometimes that helps because it gives the fish a bit more confidence. You're not taking all the fish away from the shore. Well, it's got a bit quiet at the moment, so this happens from time to time. Basically, the fish sort of wander off. Sometimes they get spooked. Sometimes you exhaust the amount of fish that are feeding in that particular shoal. But just keep at it, and then eventually, fish should come back. I am thinking at this stage to add a little bit of ground bait, but sometimes that helps. Sometimes it gives it an adverse effect. I don't want to attract the small fish basically back into the swim. I'm looking at the bigger fish, at the perch. As I said, I'm trying to be a bit more positive than I have been. So, it depends on the situation. I do enjoy, obviously, fishing for small fish, but it hasn't been getting me anywhere lately. So, as I said, in this particular match, I knew you needed bigger fish, and as it happens, that I've laid my stall out basically to catch the bigger fish. Right, I'm going to make some adjustments here because I'm going to go a little bit deeper, I think. I'm going to lay on a bit stronger. So I'll just shift the float up slightly. I remember when I was young, the great Larry Powell, a good friend of mine who was one of the best anglers in Wales, he always told me, he said, if you're not catching, change your shot pattern, do something, and that usually sometimes helps. So that's what I'm doing this time. I've gone slightly deeper, laying on, holding back stronger. Sometimes fish like it, sort of dead still in the flow. So let's see what happens now. Things slowed up a little bit at this stage. I just changed the worm then. Fresh worm anyway. On. Okay. Holding it very slowly. Right. I've hooked the fish here, and it's quite a big one, and it's sort of taking me downstream. So I'm just angling the pole straight towards the fish, so the elastic will do the work. Just bringing it forward. Splitting the pole up this time because I can't shift it back because of the high vegetation behind me. So there we are. This might be one of the bigger perch I caught. You know, good pound fish. I mean, it should be pretty well hooked because I'm using, as I said, a 14 hook, large gape 14. It shouldn't come off, and it's probably done his gullet anyway. So yeah, nice fish. Yep, got to be about touching a pound, I think. Although perch do tend to be a bit hollow, don't they? You know, sometimes when you weigh them in, you think you've got more than you have sometimes. Okay. Right, now, you know, perch do go in shoals, so my theory is that I should go out and probably get another one almost straight away. So, as I say, put some fresh worm on. Put the pole back together. I have got a little problem with the ferrule at the moment on this pole, which I will sort of play around with in a minute and fix it. As I say, it's an old pole, been battered a few times. I use it for carp fishing, but it's light and thin, as you can see. You know, might be a bit soft, but it'll do the, you know, it's doing the job. My senses pole, which I generally use for hemp fishing and that sort of thing, that's in the bag out of the way. Mainly because this is a sort of a throwaway pole. You know, not a concern if it gets damaged or, as I say, and I've made some tips, as you can see. I've coloured them white. That helps the camouflage, you know, the shadow of the pole. The theory is, like the underbelly of a fish is white, and so are birds. Any fish of prey and animals of prey have got a white underbelly, and that's sort of the camouflage. Right, not sure if I had a bite then. Yeah, but generally, you know, if you get a one fish, you normally get another one straight away. Didn't quite happen, I don't think, this time round. Unless, you know, sometimes you get nibbles, bites, and, you know, you miss them, so it's worth checking the bait. Again, a problem with a pole, trying to get it back. Okay, I'm going to leave it at this at the moment. As I said, this was an experiment. The only reason I thought of this is that I have a membership. If you look on the top of the screen, you see there's a button there for joining, And the idea is that for a small subscription, which helps, obviously help me put these videos together, then it means that I think I got a fish on here, have I? Yeah. The idea is, of course, it helps me to produce these films, and I might even get a body camera with the proceeds. So if you do decide to sort of join, yeah, then as I said, then this will be add-on videos for people to be able to view, and people who want to know a little bit more about the way, the methods and the things that I'm actually using. Because as I said, I haven't got time during the match really to talk a lot, so it's easier to do it after and explain what I'm doing afterwards. So on this little note now of a little perch I just got into the net, I'll leave it at that, and hopefully you will come along and join the subscription, and if you do, thank you very much. If not, don't worry, the other videos will always be free and available, to anybody who wants to watch. And thank you for watching.